Imagine that instead of spending 5 to 7 minutes trying to edit a photo in Lightroom, you could make your photo look way more professional in just under 30 seconds. And suppose you could do all of this without even having to master all those complex editing sliders and tools. You see, this is not a dream. This is exactly what Lightroom's new adaptive color profile does. It is probably one of the best things to happen to photo editing, and it actually might make photo editing a thing of the past. So in this video, we will break down Lightroom's new adaptive color profile, what it is, how it works, how it makes editing nearly unnecessary, and in the end we will see how it can fit in your workflow. So let's continue. Now usually when we edit a photo, we spend around 5 to 7 minutes on average, maybe more, trying to make it look perfect, trying to make it nearly as good as we want. So just to give you an example, this is a photo from one of the family shoots I shot last week, and it was shot in early evening, so we had a lot of bright sun. This means we had a lot of overblown highlights. We can't have overblown highlights on the woman's hair because the woman is our main subject, right? One of the main subjects. So my immediate reaction to this would be to bring down the highlights. I can also maybe bring down the exposure a bit, maybe increase the contrast a bit, maybe increase the whites a bit, or bring them down. You see where I'm going? I'm trying to make this photo work desperately by making any number of changes, right? But the problem is the photo still does not look good. And this is because it is not shot properly. It is not a good starting point. But what if instead of doing all of these edits, I simply go ahead and choose adaptive color profile from the profile menu. And now you can see the difference. So this photo looks 10 times better than what it was before. Now if I go and compare the before after, overall the photo looks much more clear, sharper. Now our main problem were the blown out highlights on the lady's hair especially, and also on the background and on the grass. And you can see that after applying the adaptive color profile, the blown out highlights are considerably reduced, right? They are literally gone. It looks very much nicer. Now although the result looks 10 times better, you can see that none of the sliders have moved. The adaptive color profile hasn't made any changes to any editing tools, right? So what is going on here? The thing is, adaptive color profile basically analyze a photo using AI in the background and make the changes only specific to that photo. Those changes are not counted as edits, right? Then this is the most amazing thing, because even though I have a result which is 10 times better than my previous one, I can still customize it and make it a bit more better, right? So I have a lot of flexibility here. I just need to increase the exposure a bit maybe, right? And maybe bring down the highlights a bit more. And there you go, right? Let me give you another example. Now this is another photo from the same family photo shoot, right? And this is just too much underexposed. We have a lot of shadows here on the family. Also the background is covered in shadows, right? It's properly underexposed. So what happens if I apply the adaptive color profile on this? Let's have a look. Right. So you can immediately see that the photo is at least 5 times better than the last one. So if I go ahead and compare the before after, you can see the shadows on the family, right, and on the background are considerably reduced, and the highlights on the baby are also reduced to some extent, right? This is now a photo that I can work with. If I start to edit this, I will not be spending 5 to 7 minutes on this photo. Instead, I will be spending around 30 or 40 seconds. This means due to the adaptive color profile, my editing time has reduced, right? So my editing workflow has become more efficient, right? And that is what adaptive color profile does for your workflow. Now at this point, you might be thinking that, this is what the auto button does. So what's the difference? What's new? But there is a big difference between the auto settings and the adaptive color profile. Again, let's look at it with an example. Now this is a portrait photo that I took of a stranger last year while doing street photography, and you can see immediately that we have a lot of blown out highlights on the face especially over the glasses. So our main motive is to specially reduce these overblown highlights, right? So now I will apply auto settings to it. And you can immediately see that the auto settings haven't done much apart from bringing down the highlights a bit, and they have actually increased the shadows. But let's see what the adaptive color profile does to this photo now. You can immediately see that the adaptive color profile has increased the contrast and clarity. It has also brought down the highlights so that they don't look overblown now, and the result is much more sharper and 10 times better. Now if we compare this with the one with auto settings, there is a huge difference. The one on the left with adaptive color profile looks so much good. It looks very sharp, clear, and looks like a proper portrait photo. The one on the left, while it just still looks overblown. And the biggest difference is the adaptive color profile still hasn't moved any sliders. These results are 10 times better than the original photo, and it really makes me think, who is this for? And for me, the adaptive color profile actually makes sense for two kinds of people. First are the beginners in photography. So if you are just starting out in photography, or if you are starting to learn how to edit photos in Lightroom, but you feel that these sliders and editing tools are overwhelming and too much, the adaptive color profile gives you one-click solution for editing. And the second group of people for which this can be useful are the professional photographers who do batch editing. So if you have like hundreds of photos to edit, but you feel that some of the photos actually are shot in bad light, or they don't have a good starting point to work with, you can simply use adaptive color profiles, and then you will actually have a good starting point. So it will save you a lot of time if you are editing a lot of photos together in one batch. Now there are a couple of things we need to take care before we use adaptive color profiles. Firstly, you cannot use it along with auto settings together, right? You can only use either adaptive color profile or auto settings exclusively. The second thing is, in this video I showed you all the examples with Lightroom Classic, but the adaptive color profile is also available on the main Lightroom app, and you can access it here. Right, so that's it. Now we know what adaptive color profiles are and how powerful it is. For me personally, it was really cool to see how AI is working with photographers instead of working against them in this case, right? What would you prefer? Would you still prefer editing the photo from scratch by yourself, or would you actually use the adaptive color profile and use the result just as a final product, right? So I'm curious to know what you would go for. Now, if you found this video interesting, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving this video a thumbs up. This gives a lot of encouragement to me and also tells the YouTube algorithm to promote videos like this. I hope you have a really good day. I hope you take photos as much as possible and you enjoy photography as much as possible. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.